Welcome to the MWR podcast at Fort Carson.
Welcome to the MWR podcast. I'm here with Maria Flores and Steve Arce. They are from the Family Advocacy at ACS. And today we are talking about a little more, I would say, a sensitive topic that doesn't often come up either in a family situation or anything like that. So I think it's really valuable to have a conversation about, and that topic is stalking. I can say from experience, looking back at some of the circumstances in college, that I had, a gentleman that was interested in me, and he changed around his entire class schedule to get the bus the same time as me. And I wish I would have had some knowledge on, okay, is this an issue? What should I be looking for? What, now that I have kids, can I tell them to be concerned about? Can you guys expand on that emotional aspect and kind of what, we can teach our kids or even personally to look for? Maria, did you want to start with that one?
Sure. Okay. So typically with stalking, and January is Stalking Awareness Month, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And with stalking, it's a behavior that what we see in our clients occurs when the relationship is coming to an end. And nationwide statistics right now show that about 43% of people are stalked. Oh, wow. After a relationship has ended, and that falls in line with our clients. And so some of the things that we're seeing with our clients are just persistent and incessant calling, texting, and we're talking about 100 phone calls or texts a day. And we're also seeing things like following someone on social media or through email, and things like, and this is when it gets more extreme, is things like hidden cameras in a home. And we have had a client who has faced that issue, and also tracking on vehicles. And so it's sometimes the stalking happens from afar. It doesn't really happen when someone is being tracked, like in your situation where someone was on the bus or whatever. Yeah. So it can happen from afar. And so those are some of the things that we identify when we have a client in our office and do safety planning, is what are some things that you can do to be safe if you know you're ending the relationship. Let's think of ways of what we can do, like changing your password or getting a new phone number. It's just part of our safety planning.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think, in my perception, really, and I think a generalized perception is stalking is always, somebody that you don't know that is kind of fond of you. But with that statistic, that says that's a relationship concern as well. Mm-hmm. With the perception being that it's typically somebody from afar, and from that statistic seems it's not the true, the reality of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's coming from a relationship, and so what suggestions and resources can you guide our audience to keep in mind if they're seeing this circumstance starting in the relationship, are looking to get out of the relationship, and are concerned that this might be an issue? What can you suggest to them? What's the plan of action that you typically tell them to take?
And so there really is a big misconception. It's really less, in most stalking cases, it's about less than 25% are the stranger stalking, like the celebrity stalking that you see, and more likely than not, it's a current or former intimate partner, somebody you know, somebody your family member. And so sometimes you will see telltale signs, like you will get someplace and suddenly you'll get a text from your partner or your ex-partner about, what are you doing here, or what are you doing there, or et cetera. And so when you see things like that, or when you see notes left by those individuals when you get someplace, or asked when you get home, why were you at so-and-so's place, there's a couple of different resources that you can access. One, of course, is working with our victim advocates even if you're not sure. If you're not sure and you want to talk to somebody about safety planning and really kind of talk to them about, is this something I should be concerned about? You can get a hold of one of our victim advocates and work with them individually. You can also do things like if you think somebody is electronically monitoring you. A lot of the mechanics and dealerships around town will actually do free checks of your car. Where they will go through and inspect your car for hidden tracking devices and sometimes you actually need to take into consideration just look at your keys. Is there a new key fob or something you don't recognize on there all of a sudden, which can really easily be slipped on there if this is happening with somebody that you're in a relationship with that is around your stuff all the time.
Wow, I think that's definitely something that we don't think about. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it gets ahead of you. And I think that this is the value of talking about it ahead of time. So, to keep in mind.
And I think that the things that Steve is mentioning, the behavior of a stalker is to make you think that you're going crazy.
Yeah.
And it's all about that power and control. And so when you have a victim who says, yeah, somebody's been following me, but there really isn't any proof, right? And so it goes back to they're trying to make it seem like you're the one with the problem, that you're the crazy one. And one of the things as a victim advocate that we encourage our clients to do is to keep a log. Okay. And so when you feel that something's going on, date and time. And that way, when you have to make a report, instead of trying to remember that from memory, which can make it seem like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you can say, no, on this day, on January 12th, this is where I was, and he shows up or she showed up at this time. And so it just makes it more believable. And that's unfortunate to say that as a victim, you have to kind of prove that this is happening to you, but it just helps the person in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely, what I've learned throughout life is you have to be your own advocate sometimes.
Yes.
But
Yes.
It's great that, our military community has you guys as that help of advocacy. And I know each location and state and even city has different laws and litigation measures and things like that. For the Colorado area, can you kind of explain and expand upon maybe what is available to a victim?
So Colorado actually has a stalking law. It's called Vonnie's Law, and it really kind of defines what some of the different aspects of stalking are. A lot of the ones that Maria and I have already talked about, where it includes like tracking, following, making threats, and the statute uses the term credible threat. So it's really about what's a credible threat to this individual. I used to, when I used to use the example all the time of, if a soldier says something as an example, something to the effect of well, I wouldn't want you to have anything happen to you because you know what I do for a living. There's an implied threat there. Okay. Because what do soldiers get trained to do, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's really about is it a credible threat? Is it does it put you in fear of what they call fear of imminent harm? And so the nice thing about that is there's also a civil statute in Colorado that covers civil protective orders. And one of the categories for civil protective orders is stalking. Mm-hmm. So not only domestic violence, sexual assault, but and harassment, but also for stalking. So there's a lot of different resources that our advocates can help people access as far as what's available to them to be able to keep themselves safe.
Okay, that's really great to know. It made me think of a question. I think another perception is that typically women get stalked, but I know that that's definitely not the case. There's circumstances out there that it's been the reverse. Mm-hmm. What is the percentage? What is, the typical? I mean, I guess it's not typical. Every situation is never typical in this situation. But, what can people kind of keep on the radar of? Why is this kind of happening? Like you mentioned the control. for women it would be control, men it's control. Like that's the bottom line, gender put aside.
Right. Well, I think that given that we work on a military installation, we do have clients that are men, service members that are male, and so again, when we're seeing the stalking with our male clients, it's after a relationship has ended, and it's the same type of behavior that a female would use. It's offender behavior, and so with males, what we see as when they're reporting domestic violence or sexual violence, it's they're embarrassed about it to come forward because of the stigma that men don't report. You should be flattered that this is happening to you, that someone like that wants you, or things along those lines. And so one of the things that is important to us as victim advocates is when someone comes into our offices, we're going to believe you. And no matter how crazy or how ridiculous you think it is, we believe you because we've seen it. And so then we're going to listen and figure out what's the best overall comprehensive safety plan for you so that you can get through this in one piece. Because when someone eventually comes forward, they're unloading. And so they just need an ear to listen to. And then we work with them to figure out how it's going to be better for them so that they can make the best choices for themselves.
Great. I think that really needs to be put out there that, that this service is here for the community, no matter what. So I know in some extreme cases where people are uncomfortable and may feel, physically threatened as well, is there any resource that is available to them to kind of help them get out of the situation?
Yes, one of the, as Steve had mentioned earlier, we can help clients obtain a protection order in El Paso County Court. And we also have what's called the Colorado Address Confidentiality Program. And that is a program where a victim of stalking, domestic violence, or sexual abuse can apply to have an alternate address so that their home address is kept off public records. There's certain criteria that has to be met, and our office has advocates who are certified to do the application, and so we can get that process for them.
Okay. Wow, that's a good one. Okay. Steve, I did want to touch on, you mentioned earlier about, some of the statistics. The age range was kind of, as a parent, a little shocking to me. So the typical age range, can you elaborate on that?
So it is kind of shocking because we talked a little bit about gender, different rates for gender, et cetera. But really, the biggest age category is 18 to 24, and that's both for men and women, which incidentally is also one of the biggest age categories for our domestic violence cases. So it really kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah. So as a parent, I'm like tucking this knowledge away to help share with my kids and just keep an eye, And I know kids tend to not want to share with parents, but I think it's important to talk about. So I really appreciate you guys coming out, and thank you.
Thank you.